The wait is over. The Oregon State Beavers 2016 football season gets underway tomorrow with a visit to Minnesota for the Golden Gophers. A new quarterback behind center in Darrell Garrettson. Some fresh faces on the staff and on the field. And year 2 under Coach Gary Anderson. It all gets underway with Inside the Huddle. Joining me, as always, is the quarterback for the Giant Killers, Steve Priest, joining us. Welcome back for year 2.
Thanks, Dusty. Good to be here.
Now, we sit here and we hear culture. Year 1 to year 2. Gary Anderson has been instilling in his guys the cultural shift. What does that mean, and what have you seen big difference with the
Dusty, the discipline. The discipline of this program, whether it's in the locker room and the weight room and the off-season conditioning, it's different now. They do a lot of things like hitting more. That's much different than Coach Riley's system. So their culture changes on the field. But mostly it's everything from classroom to the weight room, and it has changed.
Now, part of that is the changing of faces as well. And there's a few impact freshmen that you have seen heading down to practice, checking things out, and you've heard from the coaches. And 2 of them on the offensive side of the ball is one, Trayvon Bradford, a wide receiver out of Oregon City, and Mason Moran, a highly touted quarterback out of Arizona.
Yeah, Mason and Trayvon both came in the spring. So they were high school players who are at Corvallis in the spring, have the advantage there, and they both looked very, very good. Bradford was actually playing a lot of reps with the first team and does so many things. You can see the way Moran throws the ball, the way Bradford reacts to the game as it's coming to him. I think they're very calm. They make big plays, and neither one of them looked like a high school kid last spring.
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, we know we'll see Trayvon Bradford. If Darrell Garrettson is healthy, we won't have to see Mason Moran this year. But on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to see a lot of impact freshmen, a lot of guys that you've been impressed with in the coaching staff. We've heard a ton about throughout spring ball and fall camp.
Well, no question. They had 7 linebackers that they, I want to say drafted, but they recruited. And here are 3 or 4 of them right here. These guys will all be active this year. They all are outstanding physically. This doesn't look like the normal recruiting that Oregon State has done in the past. You see most of their sizes. They're big. They're all athletic. They play basketball. They play football. They run track. A different kind of kid. And they've also got junior college players that have come in, a number of them who are going to be in the depth chart. They've just done a great job of instilling their culture by bringing in new people who bought in when they came.
The fresh face that everybody's looking forward to of seeing on the field for the first time in game action is a guy that's been on campus for a year now, Darrell Garrettson, transferring from Utah State, where Gary Anderson was formerly the coach. And it takes us to our damn good moment, presented by Flat Tail Brewing. Steve, this guy, he shined in the spring game. There's been the hype. We've seen him at Utah State, now at Oregon State. Oregon State fans should be excited about him coming to campus.
Well, they can see right there in that particular play the accuracy that he throws on the long ball. It's magnificent. He also has a lot of strength. He can zip the ball. He's active. He moves around. You look at his size and his stats right there. But he transferred to Oregon State into a system that he's run before. He played for this particular offensive coordinator at Utah State, came with him, redshirted a year, and I think the most fascinating thing is he became part of their leadership council and a team captain while being the scout team quarterback last year. This guy has not played, and he's a team captain.
All right, well, let's take a look at a play that you earmarked from the spring game.
Well, this is kind of an interesting situation. It's a tough play. It's a 2-by-2, so you got 4 receivers there, plus this guy. There are 5 receivers in every single pattern Oregon State runs. If you could clear that off, what we're going to see a little bit is a play to the weak side by these people on the right side trying to pull their men away, leaving the backside open. And then you'll see a wonderful adjustment by the quarterback as the play rolls on. Eyes here from Garrettson. He's looking right now. He flushes to the right. You can stop it right there. You've seen right here a guy that's delayed. He's going to come to the end zone. Bradford has already released and is coming across the field. And here's your running back, who is also looked at, as you can see Garrettson's eyes. They're heading back to this side of the field, but it ends up he's covered. So look what he does with the football. Finds Bradford down the field. And for a high school senior right there to make a play like that where he's adjusting, coming across the field as the quarterback flushes, looks like a senior in college, not a senior in high school.
Beaver Nation, very excited to see Darrell Garrettson under center for the Beavs. And Gary Anderson, excited to have him at Oregon State. We'll hear from the coach coming up next. And on top of that, the wrecking ball is back. We saw him bust onto the scene in a big way in the Civil War. He's the workhorse now. Coach Anderson sits down with us next. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on. Without further ado, we head down to Corvallis. Head football coach Gary Anderson entering year 2 with the Oregon State Beavers. And Coach Anderson joins us now. Coach, thank you for taking a few minutes for us today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. Let's get this thing rolling, huh?
Coach, speaking of the off-season, good segue. Tell us the biggest gains that you've seen in your program in the weight room and off-season conditioning this past 6 months.
Well, the numbers are much, much better. I think Coach Simon and his crew have done just an outstanding job of making nutrition important, sleeping important, much deeper than just say, hey, let's go lift weights. It's what are you putting in your body within a half hour after you're done working out and training. So the education has been very good. I think our leg strength showed tremendous gains from where it was a year and a half ago, which was great to see. We appear to be a more physical team that's against each other, and so that's not easy to measure. It's our guys are going against our guys, and we'll know a lot more here in a few days of exactly how we stand up, because in this game we'll be tested against a very good, and I know from firsthand knowledge, a very good physical offensive line and a team that has a physical mindset. So there's been good gains. I'm also proud of the way our kids have learned to prehab to prevent rehab. You see a lot of kids doing extra things, whether it's a little tweak of a shoulder or they need to strengthen their ankles or a wrist or whatever it may be. I see those kids spending extra time in there. There's not enough time in the day for the weight room just to handle all those things, and our kids are get that individual attention after their workouts, which ask our kids to be, pros as student athletes, not pros in the NFL, but pros as student athletes, and that's part of being a pro as a student athlete, is handling yourself and doing a few of the extra things that matter.
One of the things that, Beaver Faithful were saying is that they can have a noticeable difference in size and strength of guys. And they got a firsthand look at them at a very cool thing that you guys had. You guys went to Bend. Out of necessity with the facilities being built and refurbished, you guys went to Bend. Talk about that experience and how unique that was to kind of bring your guys together.
Well, it was great for me, and the anticipation was it would bring the team together. For myself to be able to go be a position coach for 7 days and go back to kind of the grassroots of why I believe you should coach, and that's because you love to be around the kids and coach them in a position and watch them do things right, watch them do things wrong, and correct them in those meetings. And I'm still fortunate to be able to do that, but now obviously we come back and I have to wear 2 hats, which is a little more difficult for me, but those kids are handling it well. For the football team, I really believe that they did come together. And when they come up to me and they communicate and say, hey, Coach, next year can we go back to Bend for 2 weeks? That took me off guard. I was like, well, we'll look into that and see exactly how it sits. But they shared exactly what you said earlier, the ability for them to be able to come together, be around each other. Even when they come back to Corvallis, we're still 3 or 4 minutes away from each other here, but we're not sleeping in a dorm room with a guy that we don't know. And then all of a sudden those relationships are built, and I think they're special relationships that will be around for a number of years because of that. And it's just good to be around a team that is eating together. They're in the thing for 7, 8 straight days. It was a great experience, great facilities, and we're grateful to the people of Bend for allowing us to be able to be there and have a quality start to camp.
The relationship between the team and your new quarterback. Darryl Garretson has looked fantastic in spring. He's won the job. Tell us about him and what he brings.
Well, Darryl's played in football games, and that's an important thing. He's succeeded in football games at a very high level, and that's a big part of being a quarterback. He's also come in here and he's been a leader. He's a leader by example. He's a leader through his work ethic. He's a leader how he studies film. He's a leader with how he interacts with his teammates. And this team is not full of a bunch of cliques. You watch them walk off the practice field today as Stacy gives them their candy bars, and they're all they'll intermingle with each other, which I think is so important. I think Darryl's done a good job of being part of that transition as we've gone through time here. But most importantly, on the football field, he's been in those moments. He's been in big-time away games. He's been in big-time home games, and he's had success. Has he won them all? No. But he's been in the moment. He's been in those settings. He understands the game of football. I think he also understands the relationship between a quarterback and receivers, quarterback offensive line, quarterback running backs, quarterback tight ends. And quarterbacks and running backs, it's his responsibility to make sure that those kids believe in him, and when he looks them in the eye, they should look back and say, this guy can do it for us, and I believe our kids feel that right now.
You know, one of the things that was the known heading into training camp was Ryan Nall in your backfield. The unknown was who would be his backup. We've seen Tim Cook and Artavis Pierce really take big strides according to coaches, players. Talk about those guys' development and how comfortable you are now with the guys sitting behind Ryan Nall in the backfield.
Well, Artavis and Tim have done a nice job. They've both have yet to carry a ball in a Division I football game. So, you know, stay tuned. We're about to find out. And we wanted to have 3 backs. And I would not count Jalen Bailey out of that mix either. He's a extremely competitive young man that is going to be a big part of our special teams. He's done a great job of playing some fullbacks, some H-backs, some running back as we need it. So, and then I can't mention these running backs right now without mentioning Ricky Ortiz, who has gone through so much last year and got himself in a position for his senior year. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. But we talked about, you know, we wanted to get a fullback and an H that can block. We've got those guys in Ricky. We've got them in Jalen, but they also have an opportunity to be very good pass catchers and be involved. With Tim and AP back there, we want to have 3 backs. We know we have 1. We think we have 3 that can get it done and do some very productive things in football games at this level. But, you know, we'll know more in about 3 days here of exactly how productive they can be in those settings, and, you know, how's that offensive line going to handle the big physical, you know, defensive line as we move forward. So I'm excited to see those guys go out and play.
Coach, to make it clear, you believe in running the football. That's what you'd like to do. You're a former offensive lineman yourself, and that's the game to you, is to run first.
Yeah, I think you have to establish a run as a player. I would a lot rather ran forward than run backwards, no question about it. So that was something that I like to do. I like to run block, but I think that we talk since January 4th about getting bigger and tougher and stronger, and you want to be able to run the football effectively. It opens up the game of football, and it's going to be a vital part of who we are and what we need to be. And whether we're 4 wides on the field or if we've got 2 tight ends and 2 backs on the field, we want to be able to run the football and have a physical nature, a physical brand. And I think we have, obviously Ryan's proven that he can do that. I'm excited to see where he's got himself built up to in the positions that he's in for this season, but you got to have a couple guys back there behind him. So I don't think we're an offensive line that's going to line up and say, hey, here we come, we're going to knock you around every single snap. So we'll have a lot of different run schemes for those kids that they can handle mentally and physically, but we do want to run the football, absolutely. But I think we have some pretty talented wide receivers and a quarterback that can spin it. So multiple offense.
We're just getting started with Coach Anderson, who's joining us live from Corvallis. Coming up next, they got fresh facilities around Corvallis in the Oregon State Beaver football program, and some fresh faces on the coaching staff. More with Coach Anderson. And Coach Anderson rejoins us live in Corvallis. Coach, we just saw the video of the guys' reaction to the new locker room in the facilities down there. What does that new locker room mean to not just your players, but the Oregon State program?
Well, it means a lot. I still don't have the exact word to describe how much it means, but from the ability of a recruiting standpoint, it's very, very important. These kids know a lot of Pac-12 players. They know a lot of elite players throughout the country playing in Power 5 conferences, and now they're very proud to say that their locker room matches up with anyone in the country. And so that part of it is great. It's a special time for those young men. But the key thing for me was it was genuine, and the only 2 ways I can say it is it looks like to me that that's a bunch of 21-year-olds acting like they're 8 years old again on Christmas morning. and that was great to see. And then the other thing, when I looked down at my wife Stacy, and she's got a tear rolling down her eye, rolling down her cheek, excuse me, those are pretty special times. And those kids, it means a lot to them. But they also do understand that it comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility, that there's great sacrifices that have taken place to put them in a position to have what we all believe they would have. And it all starts with President of the University giving us an opportunity. Athletic director giving us an opportunity, and President Ray's been awesome. Todd's been awesome as far as moving us through this process and giving us a chance to have the facilities that we have today. But they're grateful, and that's pretty special in the world of Division I football. You have great kids in this program that want to go out there and represent the right way. They want to play winning football, and it's important to them to be able to get to that point. But they do it with a genuine belief and a care factor for Beaver Nation, which is. It's not always that way, trust me.
Coach, there will be a new coach's locker room in that same facility, and you have some new coaches as well as some shifts in staff. Can you talk about Kevin Clune coming in to take the defense and the shifts on offense and what that's done for the program?
Well, I think, when I made the decision to go to 5-5 coaches to get it evened out on both sides of the football, that came with some transition, that came with some hard decisions. And when I have to make those decisions, I just simply lay them out there, and I ask the people to follow those situations and those decisions that I've made, and we move on. And that's what this staff did, and I'm very proud of them. I think they've handled themselves extremely well. They've got themselves in a spot to continually grow and develop and understand their roles. I'm proud of the way that they've handled their kids. Our kids, I believe, are well coached, and the things that we emphasize we've gotten better at. Kevin Clune has come in and done a very nice job of putting his stamp on the defense. I wanted to make sure that Kevin knew when I hired him that it is his defense. My number one worry was, he's worried about me, that I still see him as a GA. I've gone through that. When you get hired as a young coach and you sit there and think, well, I'm just a GA at this point, and I don't want him to feel that way, and he does not. So he's done a tremendous job of establishing the odd front defense, and really has built it since those days back long ago when it was myself, Bill Bush, Kevin Clune, Dave Aranda, Derek Odom all sat in a room and tried to change a 4-3 undercover one team and a 4-3 quarters team and adapt it to the odd front. And Kevin's gone and put his stamp on it. Dave Aranda's gone and put his stamp on it. It's impressive to be able to see. And we've obviously got Derek with us here and Coach Clune with us here. So they've developed a defense that has grown since that meeting a lot, and they speak the right terms, they speak the same language, and they've moved forward. Other than that, I think having 2 DB coaches have been great for us. Corey's done a tremendous job. Derek's done a tremendous job. The room is cleaner. It's easier to speak. It's easier to teach. It's quicker to teach when you have the corners and the safeties split up, even though they do still spend some time together. That's been a big positive. Coach Chad moving outside linebackers was something that I knew he was absolutely ready for, and he jumped on board and has done a tremendous job, although he is still a big help for me on the defensive line a lot of the times when there's practice things that I can't be part of. But he's those individual attention that those outside backers are getting is important. And then on the offensive side, quickly, is I think TJ and Kevin McGivern have worked very well together. They understand who the play caller is. They understand how they're putting things together. They work as a team very, very well throughout the week that I've seen. Coach Baldwin's been absolutely fantastic, which, hats off to him. I love him as a coach and excited that he is on our staff. And I think him and Brent Brennan worked very well, having the inside receivers and outside receivers. And Telly Lockett's done a tremendous job there at the running back position. So if I missed somebody, I apologize. But I love the staff, and I think the transition has been very good.
All right, Coach Anderson, getting the Beavs ready for a trip to Minnesota. Good luck to you, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys, I appreciate it. Have a great week. Go Beavs.
All right.
The trip to Minnesota, and the Beavs getting ready to get things going, and we got to get our keys to the game rolling. They're back for another year, Steve Priest. We wrap up Inside the Huddle next. More Oregon State than you know what to do with here on CSN. Hashtag Beavers football. If you missed it, it'll re-air tonight at 11 o'clock. Saturday, CSN Game Day, where they'll recap the Beavs in Minnesota. Every Wednesday night, it's Talkin' Beavers, and Thursday night, it's us. Inside the Huddle with Coach Gary Anderson every single week. All right, let's get to it. Time to unveil our keys of the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. I look confident in my picks here. Convert on third down. Beavs, 118th in FBS on third down conversions last year. You got to keep those drives together. Win the time of possession. That's not an offensive thing for me. That's defense creating opportunities, in my opinion. And then pound the rock. The wrecking ball. We saw him take off at the end of the year. Let's start it on the good note in Minnesota.
You look like the wrecking ball got you in that picture. I got to tell you.
I'd look way worse than that if he ran me over.
Well, I think the Beavers have to do some. They have to do some special things on offense. This is a very good Minnesota defensive team. They need to run the football and prove that the Beavers can run the football, and then they have to pass off the run and get some big plays. The Beavers are capable. Watch for Seth Collins. He was a quarterback before, but number 22 now is a real special player outside. On defense, it's real simple. They've got so many young people playing. They've got so many new JC players, and you've got to get your alignment straight. You can't make mistakes and give up big plays.
What are we looking for? Growth in game one of year 2 under Gary Anderson.
I think it's the physicality of this football team. This team has got to come up and start to look like what Gary's envisioned, which is a lot of big, tough son-of-a-guns that are going to knock you around and out-physical you. The Beavers did not do that last year.
All right. Well, we've got an oddity in the schedule for the Oregon State Beavers. They have Minnesota this week. Then you got 16 days off before Idaho State. Not ideal, but you got to roll with it, huh?
Yeah, I think so. It's the toughest time in the year to have it. You wish your bye was halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, and this is very difficult, as you said, to give up a week. There's just a freebie week, and you got to hit your own guys again after you get started.
It's not a freebie for us. We'll be back next week right here on CSN.